Hi, Taylor. Can you talk about your preparation for Nebraska and then some of the things that you've noticed about that team?
Yeah, I mean, we're having our first practice today on this floor, so it's exciting. But in preparation for Nebraska, we're just trying to prepare for them like we do. We have every game this year. Where they're going to be a tough team, and we're just going to play our basketball. We're trying to focus on us and to not get overwhelmed with the whole NCAA tournament and them having Nebraska across their chest. So we're definitely focused on them, but our focus is mainly on us and playing the best that we can tomorrow.
And Bree, you guys put together a nice run at the end of the season. What's been the keys to making that happen?
I think having Alex Sheedy coming back into our team after injury, I think that helped us a lot. But I think just playing together and having confidence as a team, I think, like you said, we had a good winning streak going into the Mountain West tournament. I think that helped us a lot just with our confidence and our chemistry. So I think that had a big deal to do with it.
Bree, these last few years in the NCAA tournament, do you think that it was simply you guys being a little bit overmatched, or were there other things that you look at that you could have done differently or better that you want to think about this time around?
I think we've had really hard teams every year, but I don't know. I think that matchups could have been it, but I think that we've played solid games every year, and we haven't been too far off. And last year the team that beat us ended up in the Final Four. So, hopefully tomorrow can be a different result for us.
Taylor, is there anything that you think about that you've passed on to any of the younger players, or anything that you've talked about with your teammates that you learned from past experiences?
Kind of like I said earlier, just to keep our focus and know that we're here for a reason, and that's to win. And even though we're a 13 seed playing a 4 seed, you can't. They have to still beat us, and we know that we need to play our best to win this game, but I really think we can, and to just stay focused and play us and not get overwhelmed with, like the fact that they're Nebraska. That can be overwhelming. So, just staying focused and playing how we play, I think we'll be fine.
For either one of you walking around here, a lot of history in this building, what's it like just as you walk through here? I know you haven't practiced yet, but walking through the gym, and do you think about, is that cool to play in this gym tomorrow?
Most definitely. There's a lot of history here. We just talked about before coming here, John Wooden and all his national championships here, just looking on the walls coming into this room, it's something, it's a great experience, and it's exciting, and we're excited to get practice going and playing on this floor. So hopefully we can enjoy the moment, but definitely get this win tomorrow.
Any other questions for student athletes?
For either one of you, just the mental challenges of, I guess, kind of believing that you guys can win. Past players have told me sometimes they felt like you guys were just happy to get there. Is that maybe a change of mentality this time around?
This is our 7th time here now, so I know that we're so hungry for a win, and I think our players are happy to be here. Who wouldn't be? But we're not content with that. We're definitely looking for a win tomorrow, and I think that we believe that we can do it.
And as far as what you've seen in film of Nebraska, anything that catches your eye, Taylor, when you see them?
The Big Ten in general is just a little bit different from our conference and our style of play. So we're definitely looking to get after them. We want to, play our game. And, we're not trying to change too much just because we're playing Nebraska. We still want to play our style of play. And, but they're definitely, they're a good team. And, they're big. But I think we have a good shot at playing well against them.
And can you address the whole, how do you get yourself in the right mindset of believing that you can win and stuff, what that takes?
Yeah, going off of what Bree said, our Fresno State has been here 7 years in a row, and this being our fourth time playing in this tournament, just being here and getting here it's great, and we're proud of that, but I don't think that's good enough for us anymore. Like, we definitely want this win. We're hungry for it, and we're going to definitely do whatever it takes to get it tomorrow.
This game is pretty close to home. Just talk about how great it'll be to have the support of the Red Wave here. It's almost like a home game in the sense of the amount of support we'll have tomorrow.
I think that'll be crucial for us. We know we have 2 bus loads coming down. I know that a lot of people are coming down on their own individually. So even having family members and friends, it's going to be great for us. And we love our fans, and we know that they love us. So hopefully we can put on a good win for them tomorrow and stay here and play again on Monday.
For either one of you, as you guys go through all those conference games with the reputation that the team has now and being picked preseason, you're pretty much always the favorites. And even in the conference championship, they may have been the one, but you probably didn't really feel like underdogs. What's it like? How does the mindset change, or does the mindset change when you are considered an underdog?
Personally, I like being the underdog, I don't think it puts as much pressure on us being the underdog, and I like upsets. There's already upsets happening in this tournament on the men's side. So, I like that, and I think we have a really good shot of, I guess you could say, upsetting a really good team tomorrow. And but the mindset doesn't change. All season we've had goals. Our goals were to win a conference championship and to win this game going into the NCAA tournament. So I don't think our mindset changes, but it's definitely, it's exciting.
All right, at this time, we're going to dismiss the student athletes back to the locker room. Their locker room will be open to the media for the next 22 minutes. And at this time, we'll have Coach Peebley make an opening statement.
They did a great job. We learn from them as coaches, and often, you can gain a lot of confidence from your players when you hear them talk about, where their mentality is at. And, those are 2 special seniors, Taylor Thompson and Bree Farley, and we've relied on their leadership all year, and they've got great leaders that surround them as well. And we just, as a coaching staff, we felt really fortunate to coach those 2 young women and see the influence they've had on their teammates. But great opportunity for us to be here. I think UCLA is a tremendous host. To be in Pauley Pavilion is really special. We talked to the team prior to coming here today, and there was questions earlier about playing here and playing at such a historic place. And what we realize as coaches is that, and I remember as being a player myself, whether opportunities playing in Madison Square Garden or other places, it doesn't really sink in until you're way, way, way older than that moment, that experience that you had. And they will appreciate this even more the older they get. And I will appreciate it more the older I get, this opportunity to coach on this floor. It was fun walking down the halls and seeing not just that this is John Wooden's home, but also great players like Annie Myers. I mean, just a player that I grew up watching, and my dad teaching me about, and remember, her doing commentating of games, and just really, really looking up to her. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, so Annie Myers was somebody that I just, really, really respected. So this is a tremendous place, and how special for Fresno State to be able to come here and have such close access for our fans to be able to watch us play.
Reagan, talking about Bree and Taylor, from the time that you stepped foot on campus to now, how have those 2 changed or grown?
Well, I hesitate and pause in answering that question because I think probably an answer a lot of people would want to hear is that we as a coaching staff have had a lot to do with their evolution, but I don't think they've changed as a whole lot because who they are is just their core self is pretty amazing. They both come from fantastic families who did a great job raising them. And we didn't have to, these weren't two young women that we had to, shake up and about face and have character issues or anything like that. They are who they are. And they understand the difference between right and wrong. They understand what it means to be a part of something bigger than themselves and to be a part of a family and to be selfless and to serve. And I think role-wise, they're still doing the same thing as they were when they were freshmen and sophomores. They're just doing it in a different way. As freshmen and sophomores, their job, Taylor was to facilitate offense and to get great players like Jaleesa and, Taj and Marnique and Kiki the ball and set them up for success. And Bree's job was to score when those players had 3 people on them and they had to kick out. But that was serving their team. And now they're serving their team in a different way. They've been asked to serve their team by having a more of an aggressive scoring mentality. And that's something that's really special. And I don't change that about them. I can't make them do that. They had that servant's heart when they walked into Fresno State as freshmen, and they still have it as they graduate.
You've been around a lot of basketball. The underdog role, do you relish that, and how does it change for you as a coach?
Well, I've never really bought into, and I learned this, I think, from my college coach. I've never really tried to focus too much on what other people think of you as a team and as a player. You know, and you know what you've invested. You know what you're capable of doing. So whether you're the underdog or the team expected to win, whether we were the preseason pick first or not, don't focus on that. That gets you nowhere. That gets you nothing. And you don't even get a plaque that says you were the underdog, congratulations, or you were picked first, congratulations. You just have to focus on what you know you're capable of doing and tune out what everyone else is saying. There's plenty of other things we need to be focused on instead of what other people think.
Kind of along those lines, when Taylor was talking about she enjoys upsets and already seeing a lot on the men's side.
Yeah.
What do you think would need to change on the women's side to see more upsets, or how does it evolve?
I think it's changing. I think we're in the middle of that process right now. I think, you maybe are seeing it a little bit more on the East Coast than you are on the West. We're so used to hearing the Stanford or seeing the Stanford dominance, but I think you are seeing the game elevate. You're seeing greater talent at all levels. I think our conference is an example of that. We have, and I've coached in a few conferences, only being a head coach of 2 different programs. We've been in the Big West, the WAC, the Mountain West. And, you just see that there's great players in every league. And there's great coaches, I think, coming up through the ranks too. And so I think there's a lot of development going on through the WBCA and coaching development. And I think that helps as well. But, definitely you've got UConn and you got Notre Dame with their undefeated seasons. But beyond that, there's a lot of parity across the country. And when I was growing up, it was UConn, Tennessee, and then that was it. Now we've got a lot more teams that I think are contributing, and a lot more conferences are very invested in women's basketball.
Reagan, you've been to the NCAA as a player. Last year, you got to coach for the first time as a head coach. Anything in particular that you take from last year's experience in particular to try to get Fresno State over that hump and get that first win?
I think I've been to the NCAA tournament 4 times as a player, and then as an assistant coach, we went, and then my 2 years at Fresno State, we've been. And I think as a player, had a blast. As an assistant coach, blast. Last year, I think I put a lot of pressure I just felt a lot of pressure on, and I'm enjoying it, I think, more this year. I loved the team last year. It wasn't about the team. It was just more internally. And I think, your team needs to see you enjoying the moment, being in the moment while still being humble and know that, we're going to do what got us here. And I think it's fun. This is fun. They're only going to have, if they're lucky, 4 times in their life where they're going to be a participant in the NCAA tournament. And, let's not forget as coaches that, we're not promised that we're ever going to be in the NCAA tournament again. So enjoy it. Have fun. Compete. That's fun. Competing is fun. And just have a blast with it.
Coach, do your players understand when you were a player that you competed against Nebraska? And do you have any memories of when you were playing for Sealberry and coming to the Devaney Center? And
I haven't talked about it yet.
you haven't talked about that?
Yeah, it becomes a little too personal if I do. And Connie wasn't even it was Teresa Becker, I think, was the head coach there at the
Angela
time.
Beck, and then,
Angela Beck.
and then
There
Paul
you go.
Sandiford
Angela
your
Beck.
last year there.
That's right.
Do you have any memories of playing Nebraska?
I do. I remember the jacket coming off and being... You know what I'm talking about?
Angela Beck.
Yes. I remember that as a player. And we as a player kind of had that, all right, who's going to do what? Who's going to get her to take her jacket off? That was fun. She was competitive. And I remember we played a triple or quad, maybe, I think it was a triple overtime game in Lincoln. And it was a battle. And I remember the mascot, like always watching freshmen for the first time, see the big mascot blown up. Do you guys still have the big, huge...
Little Red.
Blown up, yeah.
Yeah.
He's giant.
Yeah.
But, I remember the Buffs and the Huskers, the big football rivalries. Both of those teams in the early 90s, mid-90s were, great football programs. So, yeah, growing up a Buff, you never wore red, and I've been wearing red for a few years, and I've grown to like it. But, great tradition involved with Nebraska in all their sports, volleyball, softball, basketball. I think Tim Miles is doing a crazy good job there. He's a great hire. So, just a lot of respect for what is Nebraska.
You've been very fortunate in some of the coaches you've played for and coached under, Sealberry, Tom Collin.
Yeah.
Who's been the biggest influence on your coaching career?
That's a really good question. I have so many. My dad was a great influence. He coached in the Women's Professional League back in when they had it in the late 70s. And he's been a big part of my life as wanting to choose this as a profession. Definitely. He loved coming home from work every day, and I wanted a job like that. I wanted my kids to grow up in an atmosphere like that. My high school coach, Dave Houle, was a competitor, and he taught a lot about bringing great talent together and how to make a team with a lot of great talent. My college coach, Seal, I think I got the most from her, really respect for the fundamentals of the game and your preparation, film and scout, and preparing your team and the value of making sure your team always felt prepared going into games. And then, I've had the fortune of really, I think something that Tom taught me, Tom Collin, who I think he's got the Midas touch. Every program he touches finds success. But he is so good in practice, so good at player development and making a team just keep getting better all year. And, I had some great WNBA experience as well with great coaches there. And, I've sought mentors. I became a head coach at like 26 years old. I was so dang young. I'm crazy. And I needed a lot of mentorship, and that became really evident. And people, Stu Morrill, and I sought his mentorship, and other people that I just, sought and asked for help and helping me grow. And so it's not one person. I can't answer that question. There's a lot of people that have impacted me in my development as a person and as a coach. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.